You know, all you got to do is just point the finger. Yeah. Welcome to Truth Be Told. I am your host, Nelson Ill. We in the building, bro. You know, we strictly organic. We just keep it all love over here. We just had that conversation. I want to say shout out to all the people that are listening. We give you a little bit of time to tap in. Definitely share, like the show. We got a couple of good guests with us today. Later on, we're going to be having Roy Chin, mayoral candidate, Kansas City, Missouri. He's going to come through and drop some knowledge on us as far as what his vision for Kansas City is. And I have my nephew in the building. What's up, loved one?
Yeah, what's up? This is
introduce yourself, baby.
Rashid Bay. So just stopping
in with some knowledge. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes. They're going to see that later. But I want you guys to take a look at this young man, get used to him, because when you see Nelson Ill, you're going to see Rashid Bay. Just in case you haven't tapped in with us before, I'm going to go ahead and run the info down. Give us a call if you would like to comment, or if you have something you'd like to share with us. 816-599-6893. Facebook, KUAW. We're on all the platforms, social medias. Tap in, and then I would be remiss and somewhat probably unkind if I did not speak to my man behind the board. What's up, Corvell? What's up, fam bam? What's going on, man? Man, I'm living good, man. You got some stuff coming up. Let's tap into that, man. You got a comic show coming up, right? Sound excited about it. You sound real excited. Get the radio voice going.
Yeah, I got up. So Thursdays at the Juke House.
Okay.
Nice.
8 o'clock.
Who you got on the bill?
Evan Lionel is the headliner. Miss Arkansas. Nick Nichols.
Nick Nichols.
Philip White, I believe. Yeah. I'm out there. You know what I mean?
You gonna do your thing?
Yeah, real good comedians they meet. You know what I mean?
And then you also.
Yeah, I'm just there, man. You know what I mean? I'm just playing. But and also I'm on Percy's Bar and Grill. I'm there on Friday.
Okay.
7 o'clock. It's the Leo's Get Down or whatever. Leo's Eat for Free.
Leo's Eat for Free. Now tell him I'm upset at that, because I'm in cancer, and I don't remember them saying cancers could come down and eat for free, but now all of a sudden it's a new sign is on the horizon. All the Lions can go eat. Is that right?
It's comedian Monisha. She put it together.
Okay, Monisha. Oh, she must. Okay, okay. So I got you. Let me give a big shout out to Danita. What's up, Danita? Appreciate you tapping in. I always call you my number one friend. You ain't my number one fan, my number one friend. You tap in, you support Truth Be Told. Let's get into it, bro. Yeah. Me and you was having a kind of deep conversation offline, and I wanted to talk about, and before Roy gets in, man, it's a lot of, and a lot of people know I rap. I'm an artist. I'm an author. And one thing we was talking about, Moon Rock, what's up, baby? One thing I was talking about was like getting on, right? And I want you to comment on this, man. In my mind, my angel came to me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, Nelson Ill, can't nobody put you on. Nobody can put you on. P. Diddy, Jay-Z, they can't put you on. And the reason why is because you got to want it. Nobody can want it more than you, right? Yeah. Like I could want you to be the dopest artist out there, and I could come to you and say, I'm going to give you a platform, but I can't make you get out there on stage or get in the booth and display that type of passion.
Yeah.
So that's a twofold thought for me. One is, well, dang, I need to stop, asking or hoping that somebody's going to come and save me as far as, Nelson Ill, I think you dope. Let me put you in the game. But the backside of that is, then I got everything I need right here. Yeah. It's just about grinding. It's about being consistent. It's about never giving up. It's about knowing yourself and knowing who you are. And then you find yourself in those situations. So no one can put you on, man. And I want my people to know that. Well, Stop looking for somebody to put you on.
Well, I do think that someone can put you on. I just think that I think that you just won't be afforded your own signature, your personality, right?
Right.
Because it has to be. It's going to be focus grouped. It's going to be peer reviewed.
Right.
So they're going to be taking away part of it, so that way they can make sure it better sells.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, your message is not something that they're prioritizing. They're not optimizing that.
They're not.
They're optimizing their sale. They've got investors, and what they just want is 15%.
So it's almost like an artificial put on, I call it, kind of. It's almost like and we from the city, so we know Rich always talking about, bro said take the stairs, not the elevator. Right?
Right.
So when you take the stairs or when you put yourself on, nobody can knock you off, right? You built that fan base like Tech put itself on. So you want to knock Tech off, you got to go and each technician one by one convince them to not like his music because it's he did his thing organically on his own. It wasn't generated by a label. Yeah. It's like if the label put you in the game, apologize. As soon as they drop you, everything, your career is over.
Your marketing is gone.
So they really didn't put you on. They took advantage of you for whatever brief moment in the spotlight that you had. You feel me?
Yeah, and then shop you around, filtered you, and then when your movie was up, when that was your 15 seconds of fame, they went, all right, cool. Who's next? What does the best spot look like now? What the best spot look like? Who needs to follow that up, right?
Right.
And the thing is, the thing is, like a lot of times, if you map out movements, right, and you look at their central focus, like, all right. So I was looking at and I was reading it and watching this. These group of scientists have mapped out our linguistic.
That's right.
Or like our. Throughout history, they've took a whole bunch of literature analyses, right?
Right.
So, and that made it a content analysis. And they went based off of the words being used. They used a huge linguistic map to make it psycholinguistics.
There it is.
And then they looked at it to go, we can tell the concept of self was going to be blossoming or budding right here. Right?
Break it down, nephew.
So now I'm gonna. That was a really general conceptual.
You're gonna put it in layman's terms. Everything he said here, just a second. So I want you to be lit.
Well, so what I'm saying is like that was that was extremely conceptual and abstract, right? But at the same time, you've got the modernist movement with our really static ideas of good and evil, like on World War II, for example. We had Nazis are bad, American allies are good, right? That was a really binary of good and evil.
Right.
Of course, it was really more complex than that because Germany got that way because of World War I. But anyways, we got was the conception of good and evil. And then after that, you had like Sartre coming out with existentialism, which he like really did a good number on Kierkegaard's version of existentialism.
Right.
And that was a branch from Friedrich Nietzsche, who did the nihilism, he was really an existentialist.
Right.
But he brought up nihilism, right? And so what came after that, though, right? Other than absurdism with Albert Camus, what came after that was postmodernism, which was understanding that the world is more complex than good and evil.
For sure.
But that was a reaction to modernism.
Right. Now
Andy Warhol was a reaction to Clement Greenberg making a classist argument about art.
Right.
So when it comes to us doing like this conscious rap.
Well, I was going to say, let me break it down into East Coast versus West Coast, right?
And what happens is that we experience something. We go, whoa, okay, this is vibing, this is new, this is novel. And I like it. And then they go, whoa, okay, wait. So this has got some serious gripping repercussions and negative sides to it.
Right. It comes with both of them. It comes with the positive and the negative,
so
right?
What we do is swing the pendulum to another direction.
That's right. So generally all the way to the other side.
To gangster
there you go.
Rap. Then we went from gangster rap.
Young man broke it down.
Yeah. But it went to gangster rap to commercialism. That's where it went.
Right. Well, that went down south with the commercial. Yeah. So that brings me here. And I love everything that you had to say. We're at a precipice now to where the dynamic or the paradigm is shifting again.
Yeah.
And so what's the next thing? So we went through, like you said, the post this and the prior that. So now we're here now, and then we're at the beginning again. So we have the ability to create the narrative now based on the information that we're dealing with today. And I feel like music, consciousness, a lot of that is coming back to the nucleus and to the heart, which now brings me to Kansas City. I think that we're going to be the next spot, that Midwest region, KC, we're going to be the next. And we can't come out talking and sounding and acting like everybody else that was out before us. Otherwise, people ain't going to want it, which brings me to Kansas City politics and brings me to Kansas City consciousness and brings me into that, how all this stuff is going to work together, which brings me to our guest, Roy Chen, mayoral candidate. Come on and Roy, I'll give you some love, brother. Appreciate you. He's back. We did a little teaser not too long ago. we got about 10 minutes in, but we really weren't able to explore the platform and really ask some of those tough questions and let you guys get to know Mr. Roy Chen. So this is how we're going to do it, Mr. Chen. Are you mind if I call you Roy?
Sure.
Okay. Roy, this is how we're going to do it. I'm representing the old life. Nephew representing the young life. Young life has questions and concerns and things that they feel are important to Kansas City. And then we who are parents, moms, dads, and things like, you know, the category I fit in, born in the 70s, then we have a separate set of things out there that are of concern for us. So I just want to have an open conversation. I want to just be as transparent as possible. And so we're going to just dive right in. Before we do that, go ahead and introduce yourself again. Kind of tell them, you know, who you are. I heard you're is it conservative? Tell me what that means. I always just heard about Democrat, Republican. I've heard about an independent. Yeah. What is a conservative?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for hosting a successful show. That's so important.
Appreciate that, brother.
My name is Roy Chen. That's Roy. You can find me all over social media. Roy, just like return on investment. So I'm your return on investment for Kansas City Mayor. My last name is Chen. That's Chinn. I was born and raised here in Kansas City, Missouri, to a Chinese father from a communist China where there were no freedoms to be had, and a black mother who was fleeing the Jim Crow, the rumors of Jim Crow, fleeing into moving upward from Arkansas forward. So you can look me up online. Again, when I become mayor, we become mayor.
All right. I've heard you say that. I become mayor, we become mayor. What I want to do is we kind of were touching on some things the other week. We ended up stopping. So I'm just going to start at the top and we're just going to run down. Neff, you got anything you want to say? Just throw it in there.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the police.
Okay.
You've been doing ride-alongs every Friday with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department.
That's correct.
You sitting in the back seat? You're in the passenger seat.
I'm in the back seat.
In the back seat. Okay, yes. Sitting in the back seat. What's going on, man?
Well, from the for the most part, from what my observations is, Kansas City Police Department, they're trying to do a best job. I've been out there. I've been observing them. The problems that we have in Kansas City, and that's why I'm here tonight, is that Kansas City, we need to have a difficult conversation, an adult conversation. The leadership in Kansas City is blind. That's why we're having problems. You know, in antiquity, you had when the men and women who were leaders were righteous, the land was blessed, the people were blessed.
We talked about that.
The reason why we suffer in Kansas City is because we follow blind leadership. And this is an adult conversation that we're going to have to talk around the tables, you know, in the barbershops, you know, at the water coolers.
So let me put out the disclaimer. If you have small children, if you're sensitive to adult conversation, you might want to turn the channel real quick because we're about to get real. And I think it's needed. We have to ask those serious questions. Yeah. And Roy and I, we've talked offline, and I appreciate your time and I appreciate you coming by the show. I really do. And one of the things that we talked about is how what we see down here every day is a reflection of our leadership.
It definitely
it's a reflection. So if you're seeing a lot of corruption and crime and things that are not good on this level, as above, so is below.
It's incompetence on parade. You know, everyone's on social media. And when you see a child misbehaving at Walmart, the first thing we all say is that it's his mama's fault. It's his daddy's fault. Kansas City, us having some of the worst school district, one of the worst school districts in America, having one of the highest crime rates, having one of the highest unemployment rate among young people and people of color, is because of the leadership, a lack of leadership in Kansas City. And we're going to have to own that, and we're going to need to have an adult conversation about the problems, or we're not going to be able to move forward. It was just brought to my attention the other day on 93, the radio station 93, that one of the candidates is thinking about making Kansas City a sanctuary city. I called BS on it then. I'm calling BS now.
You naming any names, or you just?
I'm not going to name any names.
But as far as sanctuary city, let's make sure that the audience understands what that is. So, say San Francisco, California.
That's correct.
That's a sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city meaning that those individuals who are immigrants who come from other countries can come here without local police being involved in their detainment or arrest.
You don't think he's going to do that? Or she? I don't know if it's a he or she.
First of all, the shuck and jive Negroes who are running for mayor, and they're all city council people.
Okay.
You can't be a sanctuary city if first you don't have affordable housing for working families.
Okay.
And I know everyone out in Kansas City understands that. We need, first of all, affordable housing for working families.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't have a sanctuary city if you don't have affordable housing.
Right.
So I'm just going to dispel the myth. I'm going to call BS on it.
You don't have the infrastructure for a sanctuary city.
We do not. That's just a political ploy, and it
sounds good. And you can put that on a sound bite.
Yes. And I'm going to do this. You guys are going to get this from me throughout the rest of the campaign.
Okay.
I'm going to be turning the, who was Bob Marley told us, he says, light up the darkness.
Oh, you quote Bob Marley. All right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to light up the darkness in this entire campaign. So it's an adult conversation. Feelings will be hurt.
But we're going to talk about it.
Some people will go in the corner and stand in the corner and cry.
All right.
But I want it to be known too. I am not against anyone running for mayor.
Okay.
Because
it's 25 of you guys.
And guess what?
Did you know that, nephew?
Every last one of them, most of them are city council members who are termed out.
Mm-hmm.
And they failed us, and they're running on a platform of failure. See, our students don't have 4 years to get it right.
Right.
They have 4 years of high school, and we failed them.
Right.
And I'm going to segue into why I really was here tonight.
Well, I was going to ask you,
I'm
what makes you qualified? Why are you qualified? What makes you qualified? What makes you qualified to do the job as far as being the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri? Or I'll say, tell us who you are and why you're qualified to be.
Well, like I said, I'm from Kansas City. I understand the struggles and the challenges facing Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
President Obama once said something. He says, doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results is crazy. In Kansas City, we need to have that adult conversation because that's what we're doing. Out of the 25 candidates running for mayor, you've got about anywhere from 5 to 11 of those people who are city council members who've had 4 years. They had their shot.
Mm-hmm.
They blew it. They failed.
Mm-hmm.
They should not even be allowed to run for mayor. And right now I'm calling for them, every city council member who's running for mayor, to step out of the race because their platform is failure. Right. Young people don't have jobs. Our school systems are the worst. And when I say the worst, Park Hill, which is right around the corner, they're doing it right. Blue Valley, that's another top rated.
Do they got that Wi-Fi?
Yes, they have.
Is it? I don't want to say citywide, but they have a district, right, or a certain thing. Now, we talked about making Kansas City, Missouri, a Wi-Fi city, and some of the reasons why we should have Wi-Fi. And I want you to comment on this too, because he had made a comment. We were talking, and he said, "Man, not having no Wi-Fi in this day and age is like being it's not having water."
United Nations had a council, and they pretty much made it very clear. Brother, you can support me on this here, that Wi-Fi, along with water and lights and a cell phone, is a necessity. We have to have this here. Kansas City has the infrastructure. Family, underneath the city, there's what we call dark fiber. It connects the entire city. There's no reason why Kansas City cannot become the first complete Wi-Fi city in America. It will be when you elect me mayor of Kansas City.
All right. So what I want to So I want to ask is because I'm not in disagreement with what you said so far, right? And so like this idea that like re-electing or shifting positions of these people who really their goal, their job is getting sponsorship and support, and then getting in the office, and then going and paying back that sponsorship.
Absolutely.
And then again neglecting it because the only thing that got voters to vote for them was their visibility.
That's right.
Right. And so and
the promise of change.
And the promise to change, right? And the promise to change. And so here's the so and I agree with that. I agree with that. And one of the things that one of the caveats I want to have with that though is that the failures we see around us today, especially even in Kansas City, is one of the most famous or infamous cities for this. But it's not only a reflection of our current leadership,
yes,
but it's the reflection of all the leadership we've had before, right? Because Kansas City was one of the most segregated cities. We had redlining practices that were huge here. I mean, gerrymandering is still a thing in the United States. And so we've got it where, yeah, it's not just the current leadership, it's all the other leadership beforehand. So we still need to vet those really traditional ideas out too, and to update it, right? Because I would have asked someone 60 years ago if Wi-Fi was going to be a basic necessity. They'd be like, "What is Wi-Fi?" Because Wi-Fi didn't exist, and like the internet was just getting like invented then by the military, right? And so my point is, now we understand those things don't work, or they're not as effective, or they're so ineffective that they're actually destroying the fabric of our infrastructure now. So what are some of the strategies and policies that you have in order to enrich our environment with jobs, right? Because every candidate will say, we're going to bring back jobs. Every candidate is going to be almost a cookie cutout conceptually. But how I'm able to distinguish them is them telling me their plans, right? And how it fits.
That's a very astute question. It makes me go back because you went back. When our founding fathers came together, and they wrote the Constitution, they could have written it in the words of rulers. They could have written it in the words of kings. Right. But instead, they wrote it in the words of we the people. And in my campaign, what we're trying to do is to reinvigorate, if you will, the power of we. And I believe in Kansas City. And I believe when we take government out of the way of Kansas Cityans, they will prosper. I believe that the small businesses, once we help small businesses the way we've helped Cerner, the way we've helped J.E. Dunn and all these other companies, if we get out of their way and allow them access to the opportunities and the contracts that they should have, they're going to help us turn it around. Unlike the people running for mayor, I don't believe I have all of the answers.
Right.
But I do believe we have all the answers.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
Let me throw this in here real quick.
Go ahead.
If anyone that's, we got an audience out here, so I don't want them to feel like they're not included. Make sure you ask some questions. You got the call-in number. You guys can put comments here on Facebook. Let us get some feedback so I can ask those tough questions, because I don't want there to ever be when you see Nelson Hill in the street and you be like, why didn't you say this? You had him in the corner. You could have told him that. I want to hear it. Give it to me right now. We're waiting on it. Go ahead, Mr. Bay. Let's get this thing rocking.
All right, because I'm just sharing it to my page real quick.
Make sure you do that. Let me throw this in there while you're getting that set up.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone listening, I totally encourage you to share it now, because having conversation with the mayoral candidate is one of the most essential things in a democracy. All right, because like in between like the plebeian, the peasant that we are, right? That's just being honest.
We said we was having a real conversation to make it plain.
Let's just be honest, right? Like you look at the distribution of wealth. We are very low on the totem pole.
Which is we're going to get into next to economic development. Yeah. That's my next question. Yeah, solutions, crime, education, economic development.
As far as that's how we are, like we are like close to the Earth's core, right? We are not. We are real. And so my point is that
we the soil.
Yeah, and so my point is that if you guys share this would be a good time for us to ask questions and get a working body of where Kansas City needs to go. And this is a serious thing for us to really take charge and develop in Kansas City. But so what? All right. So what I was going to ask, what I was interested in was this. How I want to know how, in your idea, in your perspective, how do you believe the government is in the way of corporations or of companies?
When I say companies, since I mean established companies, I'm talking about the future. And the future doesn't belong to the Ford, GMs, J.E. Dunns, and Cerners of the world. The future for business is you, the small business owner, and that's who I'm talking to. Yeah. Right now, I'm talking to you. I want to create a city that you're able to prosper. Again, unleashing the power of we the people. And that's what I believe. And I believe if I take the handcuffs off and there's some property, I'm working on a project right now. We call it Jazz Mecca. And then right to your point, let me go over something with you historically. Zona Rosa came out of nowhere. It's functioning and it's happening for certain people, and it's excluding everyone else. Okay, Power and Light District, which is one gigantic bar, is benefiting some and excludes everyone else. Okay, we have that. We have Crossroads. All of these areas came out of nowhere. I want to take 18th and Vine, which has been for the last 40 years, one city block.
Right.
That's all it is.
All it is.
I want you to imagine with me, Kansas City, taking 18th and Vine and taking it 1 mile, square mile east,
right,
west,
right,
north, and south. So that's going to be a square mile. And within that square mile, when we develop it, you will come down with your business model and or your business plan, and I will give you your property you want, and you would just pay taxes on it every year. There won't be, you don't have to sign anything away. You don't have to donate blood. It's not going to be credit check. I believe in you. I believe in the power of we. And I believe if we do that, people will travel the world for jazz.
Well, we're halfway to everywhere in the nation anyway.
I mean, that's a good thing.
That's the blessing.
But as far as marketing and branding,
we can be global on it.
We've got to be more specific.
We're going to be that.
Kansas City is known for its barbecue, which I love Arthur Bryant's. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Okay. It's known for its barbecue and its jazz.
Right.
Okay. Las Vegas is known for something. Other cities are doing it right. We have Branson right down south of us.
Making money.
Okay. We have Las Vegas. When you elect me mayor, we will take 18th and Vine and make it a real district.
That's right.
We know it can be done because Zona Rosa came out of nowhere.
Right.
Crossroads came out of nowhere.
The Legends, or whatever. I'm not saying that's it. Yeah,
and
those
Power
things.
and Light is a gigantic bar, and I'm not knocking Power and Light, but it's not really it's small thinking. I can't take part in any small thinking.
Well, it's benefiting a certain demographic of our Kansas
It's a gigantic bar, and guess what? If bars was what fueled tourist attraction,
then we can just build
Ireland would have the
right there.
Ireland would have the highest GDP in the world,
right?
But it's not. It's a gigantic bar. Jazz, friends, I'm challenging you who are listening to me right now. I'm challenging you to be unfaithful and to cheat on your fears. I dare you to embrace your dreams with me, embrace your vision. I need you to lie to, stand up to, and doubt all your fears that these politicians are putting you, and they tell you there's no way. They've had 4 years to get it done. You have 5+ city council members running for mayor. They've had 4 years. Mm-hmm. Your children haven't had 4 years to get it right in school. They haven't had 4 years to get it right when they face the judges and they end up doing time. Okay, your spouses don't have 4 years to get it right on the job before they're let go. So I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to believe in the power of we. I want you to doubt and to cheat on, fool around on your fears. And I want you to embrace and love your vision and your dreams with me. And Kansas City wins with Roy Chin for mayor.
All right. Now I'm just going to play devil's advocate over here. That sounds good. We've heard it. The people that came and, from back in the day when Malcolm X, he had a speech called The Ballot or the Bullet. And he talked about how, the politicians come and they promise and this and that. So I see the track record from a lot of those that are in there, so we can kind of tell what they're about. Do you have any history?
I do have a history.
What can we look at in your past that kind of gives us an indication of how you move?
I'll be 46 this September.
Okay.
I've never been in trouble with the law. Okay. I lived on 13th of Paseo, which you guys know that's a housing project, TB Watkins area. I went to Northeast, parochial schools here as well. Graduated from Rockhurst College, paid my way through school.
Okay.
Went on to Notre Dame University, and from there I went to Northwestern. I finished up my education. I have 3 master's degrees at Wayne State. I have an MPA, that's a Master's of Public Administration, which means I know how to run government, how it should be ran. I have an MBA, which is a Master's of Business Administration, which means I understand business. And I have an MADR, which is a Master's of Alternative Dispute resolution means I know how to take conflict and chaos and build a working solution where everyone wins.
Okay.
Educationally and academically, I'm prepared.
You're ready to go.
Now, on hands-on, I was a part of back in '93 with Alonzo Washington, a few of us young cats. I was with JTS, and you can research this in the Kansas City Star. During the gang summit, I helped to resolve that. I recently helped mediate the Ferguson riots, protest in St. Louis.
Little conflict resolution there.
Yes, conflict resolution there. So I want you to know these are things I've done, but more importantly, I'm the only person running for mayor. I used to be the public administrator for the city of Detroit, and you can Google this.
We talked about that.
Which means I ran the 16th largest city in America, a very diverse city. So I understand how to get the most out of government. I've done it successfully, and that was with a predominantly Democrat administration.
Right.
Earlier, you asked me what's the conservative.
You know I was going to go there.
I'm not a Republican, and don't let them lie to you guys and tell you I'm a Republican. That's a lie. I'm a conservative, which means I strictly believe in the Constitution. It means I believe in your rights to the pursuit of happiness, to run your families, to run your businesses, and have government take the back seat when you take the driving seat. And when I say conservative, I want to remind you of a lady I know, Hattie Mae Dean. She lives on 14th and Paseo.
Hattie Mae
Dean, a very good woman. And I went to her house about 2 months ago, and she said, "Baby, they said you're a Republican." I said, "Mama Dean, I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative." And so she said, "What's a conservative?" I said, "Mama Dean, who all lives here?" She says, "Well, my daughters moved back in because their husbands lost their job." I said, "So your 3 daughters moved back in and their husbands moved in too. So you guys are saving money there. They're saving money to move out. The kids are going to school every day."
You got about 8 people in there.
8 people in the house.
All right.
And I said to her, "You just made a decision that benefits you and your family.
Right.
And the government's not there. The government doesn't need to come in." I said, "You're a conservative."
And that's a conservative.
And she came in and her son said, "You mean I've been a Republican? I mean, a conservative all this time?" I said, "Yeah."
That's what I said.
You guys are all conservative. So when you make those kind of decisions, that's what it means to be a conservative. And I will work with your small business. And every day as mayor, on my mind, before I do anything for Kansas City, I'm going to ask myself, what does this decision, how does this affect you, your family, and your business? And I promise you that here and now. And that's my qualifications.
All right. I love it. Love it. Now we got a couple questions. They tapping in now. So we got a couple questions. What we got over there on the hotline, baby?
All right. So Donita Williamson, she wants to know about legalizing marijuana and instead of like locking up the mentally ill and drug abusers, getting them proper help and get them vetted.
What's your name?
Her name is Donita.
Donita, this is Mr. Roy Chin. I'm running for mayor. I love you already. I want to make Kansas City the #1 cannabis sanctuary city in America. Here's why. Cannabis works for Missouri because Missouri is an agricultural state. So we should be doing this here.
Agriculture.
Right now, opiates and bleach is more dangerous in alcohol than cannabis is about as dangerous as drinking some water. Okay, as long as you're not in Flint, right? As long as you're not in Flint.
Right, as long as you're not drinking lead water.
Drinking lead water. So I want you to know that marijuana legalization here in Kansas City, Missouri, is top of my priorities. I'm a cannabis candidate. Here's why. I've traveled all across Kansas City, and I've talked to mothers whose sons and daughters have been arrested. This is the pipeline to prison, people. And so wake up, rise up. Let's stop sugarcoating this here.
That's right.
I will end the high school to prison pipeline because I will direct the chief of police. I don't want any arrests based on marijuana. You're not pulling people over like you've done. And this is racist policies. This is institutional racism we're talking about, where cops pull you over and say, "I smelled marijuana," and they find a gun in there, or they, there's 2 felons in here, or whatever else. This is how the legal system has been living off of us. So, Miss Donetta, I'm with you 100%, and you need to be with me 100%. And if you elect me mayor, we're going to make Kansas City a cannabis sanctuary city. So this is not your and I'm not going to say this to you, but also I know that Miss Martinez is listening today on the West Side, and she has a Mexican family, and she specifically said every time the police are unable, they stop our kids and they say they smell marijuana.
Right.
Well, when I become mayor, that's going to stop. You see, that's my experience there.
Okay.
I grew up in Kansas City, and I come from.
And we're not even talking about the economical piece to it. Well, one thing I want to say too, and this is about marijuana, just so you know how Nelson Hill feels about it. You know, if you do it or if you don't do it, that's your choice. But what I tell my guys, you know, because I talk to everybody, you know, everybody love Nell, I love everybody. I said the bud is not going to be the money. The hemp is going to be the money. What do I mean by that? The products that you could produce with hemp. It's one of the most versatile plants on the planet.
Yes.
So by having it illegal right now, you also are keeping yourself from having access to hemp oil or paper or sheets or rope or bed linen or clothes or any other product that can be used by using hemp. So essentially. Essentially,
That's right.
Exactly. Essentially, what you do, you can stop some of this default, you know, where we chopping down stuff, but we can actually make products out of this and sell products, and then have to do anything to do with getting high or anything like that. It has to do about bringing money into Missouri.
Yeah, and that's a part of the institutionalized racism. You know, my experience is that my beloved sister Rowena passed from cancer. And this was 7 years ago. I'll never forget having to take her to her appointments, and her husband smoked marijuana. And I said, you know what? You know, Mom and Dad told us, you know, we should do this here. She was good and wrong. She reminded me of that.
Right.
But she said something to me, and I don't want to break down and cry here on the show, but she made it very clear that it was the marijuana that gave her the strength to go to her appointments.
Right, and sometimes eat or sleep.
Her healthcare wouldn't have meant nothing if she couldn't have the strength to go and take the treatments that eventually still didn't work.
A lot of medical purposes for that. A lot of children with seizures and different. The
science is behind it.
The science is behind it.
And the reason why people are against it is because these major pharmaceutical companies have already bought these politicians, and they will never represent your best interests.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's some latent consequences to what you've been saying so far, and I kind of want to speak on them. I'll try to be brief, but there's how we talked about leadership. It affects it affects the environment and everything else. And so when you're talking about like these police ride-alongs, and you're talking about developing the 18th Divine District, because jazz and barbecue is a mainstay, and it's the key characteristic that Kansas City is known for. It's a
tourist attraction. It brings money.
It's just it's his identity.
And they put it in the closet.
Right, it's identity.
And they put it in the closet.
If you're not developing your identity, then what you're doing is getting better clothes, like a bar. You know what I mean? Like, so those are just peripheral things that we're developing, but it's not enriching the culture of Kansas City.
It's enriching certain ones, and we need to be very honest. There are people in Kansas City who benefit from things being status quo.
Yeah.
When I become mayor, we become mayor.
That's right.
You become mayor.
And so with the 18th and Vine thing, having that develop is right in there. That district is the Negro
League Baseball Museum.
Negro League Baseball Museum. There's like all that African American history is so rich there.
It's been forgotten.
And well, now you've got traffic coming in from all ages and demographics. So now people are going to be a lot more connected to a history that they didn't have beforehand, right? Because a lot of times Americans are just really disconnected with their history.
That's right.
And even on that, like it's having, I like that a lot. But someone's brought up a good point in the comments about affordable housing. Because remember, you had
that's where we was going next.
You had said you can't be a sanctuary city for immigrants if you do not have affordable housing.
Let me throw this out here so you can address the person that responded or tapped in, and we appreciate it. Forrest Tyson.
Yes,
would you promote a sales tax specifically to address our affordable housing needs? In other words, the city gets into the development and city planning design and then puts projects up for bid, just like other capital improvement projects. I've proposed this idea and basically was told it couldn't be done, and I disagree. You do know Detroit went bankrupt. I'm just saying. So I think the crux of the question is, would you promote a sales tax specifically to address affordable housing?
My answer to a sales tax is no. And that's another reason why I'm running for mayor. Because the challenges facing Kansas City, every candidate running for mayor wants to raise taxes. Their solution to the problem is, let's raise taxes. I said no, I'll fight you first, and I'm running for mayor, and I'll fight them on it. I won't take a part of such small thinking. But the gentleman's name again?
His name was Forrest Tyson.
Forrest, but I'll tell you what we can do, Forrest. I challenge you, Forrest, to go around all the new housing development in Kansas City, and you're going to find out that in all of these rises, let's say I know there's a building right off of Broadway here.
They're slapping up them lofts.
Yeah, this loft is about a 700-unit building. And these lofts right now have about 10% capacity. That's all they have. What I will tell the contractors is this here. First of all, we're going to stop selling Kansas City land for nothing. And that's what happened. The city council and the mayor, they bend over and they've taken it and they're selling land that 10 years ago winos used to be on. And we all know it.
That's right.
The land, they sold it for dirt cheap. So these contractors get dirt cheap land, your land, that's your land, your wealth. And then they sell it to these contractors. These contractors build these condos,
right?
And they outprice you. And
$2,500 a month, $2,000 a month.
You're outpriced. You know,
they're selling public land.
Well, they're
to developers.
To developers, yes.
Or giving them incentives.
They're giving tax breaks. Your grandmother pays for her house. No one's giving a break on taxes, but we're giving welfare to these corporations who don't need it.
Yeah. And don't have occupancy.
I'm pro small business, but let me challenge you. I want you to I need you to wake up, Kansas City. I need you to imagine with me. Imagine an 800 building loft, and it's only 10% occupied.
800 units.
800 units. Now, if it's only 10% occupied because it's 2,500 or more per month,
or whatever, something we can't afford,
the owner can't pay taxes because he's not making money. So if I go in, I'm going to sit down with these contractors and these developers, and I'm going to say this here. If you make housing affordable in Kansas City, I will try to hold down your property taxes. That's what I'll do in return.
Well, you should be getting money anyway because you're going to have occupancy now. Instead of having now, 80 people, you'll have 800 people.
Imagine when you go from $2,500 down to $1,000 or $1,500. And I said the last show that housing in Kansas City downtown should be affordable for two students working part-time at Hy-Vee, making $10 an hour, should be able to afford a two-bedroom anywhere downtown. Yeah. Now, if that developer has 800 units, his unit now is anywhere from 80 to 100% occupied. He can pay his taxes to the city, like you and I have to pay for our taxes.
Right.
And guess what we don't have to do? Economic development. When that unit, 800 unit, gets full, guess what's going to happen? A school's going to pop up.
That's right.
See, that's called economic development. Jimmy John's is going to move into the neighborhood, right?
That's right. We got to eat.
Right? You know, maybe a church is going to move in. So this is the way economic development should be done. I have my degree in economics from Rockhurst University. I know how economic development should be done the right way, and this is how we'll do it. It's all organic. It should be organic. We shouldn't have to force this, and they've been forcing it, and this is small thinking. And I know you know that. I've talked to too many of you. Right now, I don't know if this is being video recorded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Home, there are 5 adult men here, and I'm going to take a poll. Out of the men here, raise your hand with a number. How many people you know want to start a business?
Want to start one?
Yes.
Sure.
I've got 5 people. He's got 5. That's 15. That's 20, 25. So that's 25 businesses. And guess what? With those 25 businesses, all of them hiring 5 people, do you see how organically we begin to change things? Yeah. And that's just in this room. So that's the straw man poll just now. That's over 25 businesses. And with those 25 small businesses hiring 5 people, and that's not a lot of people.
Right.
Look at the economic benefits from that there. And that's what we're going to do. I'm not promising you any pie in the sky. You're going to have to work hard and smart with me. First of all, you're going to have to get up, have the adult conversation with me, rise up, and win with Roy Chin for mayor. Because the people who are running for mayor, Jason Kander and all these other people who are running, they will never have your best interest at heart because they don't represent you. They don't owe their seat to you. When they become mayor, if you even allow them to become mayor, it's your fault. They've done nothing.
Yeah.
How are you going to let people who don't know you, who know no one you know, come in and win an election? If you allow this to happen, slavery is a choice. I want you to think about that.
Boy, we hitting hard on the truth be told. Hard today.
In democracy, right? I want to make in democracy, and in the libertarian philosophy, yeah. But here's what's difficult. I mean, this is why you're on the show now. Is that you're not here to just dryly report your policy, your strategies, your points, your thoughts.
Certainly.
You're here to actually convince them because they've got this whole life and that's left them in this quagmire of kind of thinking, and getting them out of that swamp it takes some energy, some
that's
work.
Right.
That's some thick mud. You know what I mean? So
it's the muck.
Yeah.
And the mire.
Forrest, I understand your thinking. And when you came up with that idea, you're probably thinking about the people you want to pitch it to. They should have jumped for that. But guess what? The friends you think you have in City Hall, your boys turn their back on you. How can they be your boy and tell you that can't work? I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a conservative. I'm very anti-taxing. And if someone brought me that there, I would take, if I were the people who are running for mayor, I would fly with that. Now, they've taxed on everything else. They just sold you guys $1 billion trolley system that's incomplete.
When we got food deserts going on.
$1 billion, and you guys bought it. You bought it.
Hook, line, and sinker. Oh, they pushed that for years. They didn't get it past 1 year. They'd run it again. It wouldn't happen. They'd run it again. It wouldn't happen. They'd run it again. So they finally just forced it on us. Let me ask you this, because we're running short on time. Sure. We're going to have to wrap up here pretty soon. The hour goes by so fast on Truth Be Told, brother. One thought I wanted to talk about, we talked about some of the other candidates. There's a bunch of candidates running.
Yes.
I just want to put it in terms of positive and negative. I'm not going to talk about negative, what they doing.
Yes.
What are you doing positive in the neighborhood?
This is what I'm doing positive. Right now, I want you to know that as I've traveled the city, I've come to learn more and more about responsibility. I want you to know I realize the positions and roles and leaderships affects everything that we do and everyone around us. So I want to take this time now and apologize for the things I've done and the things that haven't occurred yet, and the things they don't want to take responsibility for. I apologize for our failed school district that's gone on for decades, failing to educate our children, and then we yell at them and say, why don't you have a good job? Why don't you have a home? Why don't you have a car? When we told them to go to school, and they did, and then they the schools failed them. I apologize. I apologize that mothers and fathers are having to bury their children because of a murder rate. Over 150 people have been killed. I apologize for this. I apologize for the high unemployment rate. I apologize to you. I know you're hurting for unaffordable housing for working families in Kansas City, where we're hurted almost into certain areas, ending to failing school districts and areas of high crime. I apologize. You can put the blame on me. The blame is theirs, but you can put the blame on me. And I ask you very positively, if you put me in as mayor, I will resolve the problems that are facing Kansas City. So I apologize for the failure, because they won't apologize, and I take responsibility for it. But I'd like you to rise up and take responsibility and be accountable to elect me mayor of Kansas City. And I want you to know that the people who are running for mayor that I call shuck and jive Negroes, who are on the city council, they've been misdirected. And I will find a place for them in Kansas City too. I love all of them. And I want you to know that I love you. I'm not being negative, but we can't be cured if we don't first acknowledge that we have a problem and there's a disease in our community. We can't be cured. We're not going to take the medicine until we do this. So I want you to take this journey with me into the future. I know I shouldn't be asking you this here, but I'm going to ask you to believe in me and to follow me as I lead Kansas City into the future.
All right, so let me, because there's a kind of like a some of a transition, because I know that You said you identify yourself as a conservative, and to be honest, you are. I mean, I think you're right. Like I don't disagree with the fact that you're a conservative, right? And I wouldn't dismiss the fact that you've got some liberal ideas, right? And because normally the conservative, like a libertarian, for example, right, and a lot of Republicans even, they go government's in the way of business, get government out of the way of business. And so how they normally would do it, you look at Gary Johnson, who's the presidential candidate for libertarianism, for the Libertarian Party, and he's talking about cutting all these departments. The interviewer asked him, you see that clip? The interviewer asked him, what departments you want to cut? He started naming off all these departments. He said, okay, so tell me, what do those departments do? And he stopped. He's like, well, I'm sure they do a lot of stuff. He's like, yeah, but name one thing that they do.
Right.
One specific thing that they do. He didn't know what they did. Okay. He just spouted off this libertarian party thing. Yes. Right. And so a lot of times you have that toxic libertarian and Republican philosophy and approach to things where they only understand the policy halfway. They appreciate the philosophy, but they don't understand how it translates into policy. And so normally just say remove government, get government out of the way, and business is going to flourish. You said get government out of the way of businesses, and then put them behind businesses, right? And so that I think that first half was conservative, and then your reallocation of the government made it into a liberal movement where now small businesses can actually compete within their own communities. You don't have just like a big business coming in. Shutting down their competitors, and now the only business you can run is a runoff business of that main corporation. Definitely. So
we got 2 minutes.
Okay, so but I agree with that. That's an economic policy I've been pitching for the longest. Is shift your focus from incentivizing getting corporate welfare to big corporations but towards small businesses from the local community. But how do you get the government behind that? If you're like taking away if you're like cutting taxes, or you're not, where's that money coming from?
Okay, that there
is going to require labor and specialization.
That's a very
that's might not be a 2 minute one.
No, that's not 2 minutes. Let me frame it really quickly here.
Frame it up.
That's more of a Democrat misconception that if you reduce taxes, that you have to reduce revenue. That's not true. I ran a major city. I had over 70 department directors. I will put a sign out. When you elect me mayor, I'm going to be appointing the department heads for Kansas City. I'll have the city council, of course, approve them, send some candidates. And that's how we get behind them. Okay, that's how we get behind them in a very smart approach. The mayor's office sets the agenda. As mayor, I will be a strong mayor. I will set the agenda. I'm setting it now. I will set the agenda moving forward, and this is how we move to prosperity. That's how we get government out of the way.
Is reshaping how government looks.
Let me give you an example. On my ride-alongs, I learned from the police department that our police department invested in handheld ticket writers instead of buying body cams so we can see what's going on. And that was a lack of leadership. That was a decision that should have been purchased by the parking department. There's two types of governments inside the city government. You have what we call general fund that's funded by taxes. Yeah. And then we have revenue generating funds that generate like the water department and parking. Parking should have paid for those
meter readers.
And they should be out there, not the police department.
Okay. Check it out, y'all. We've exhausted our time. We're here with mayoral candidate Roy Chin. Win with Roy Chin. Our pleasure. We're gonna have to have you back for a third section, because there's so much to get into.
I love all of you in Kansas City. I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward. I'm running for mayor for one single reason.
That's right.
I want to work for and serve you.
There it is. Make sure that you're
the residents of Kansas City.
Get out there and vote. Let me hit them with the prayer. I want to say shout out to T Baby. She'll be back in action with us. So, do your thing, T Baby. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given ye suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other.